Hi, welcome to Day in the Life series. Today's video is about our CRO expert, Will Marsland.
I'm Will, I'm the CRO expert here at Axon Garside, so that's conversion rate optimization. Essentially, my main job involves looking at how our clients' websites convert, how well they convert, and what can be done to improve that conversion in terms of the number of leads that they get in, and the number of marketing qualified and sales qualified leads.
That's great. What does a typical day look like for a CRO expert then?
Obviously, there's quite a lot of variation in terms of what I do day to day. It typically depends on what clients I'm working on, but generally I'll come in and the first thing I'll do is I'll have a look at what I've got on for the day. Usually I prepare it the night before in terms of tasks that I've got lined up, priorities and what I want to achieve. So I'll review what I'm going to be doing, what clients I'm going to be working on, what are the main sort of goals that I want to be hitting with what I'm doing. We have a company-wide scrum every morning where we talk about, we familiarise ourselves with what everybody's going to be doing for the day and how that aligns with each other, which helps with visibility and helps us to all understand what's going on and how our work fits together. So after that, I typically get started. I'll look at how on target we are for meeting our clients' goals, whether the work is delivering, whether we need to be readjusting what we're doing, and generally if I've set up any conversion experiments or tests, I will check in on how they're coming along, whether there's any data, whether we need to change direction at all. After that, I basically get into the bulk of my work, which is usually around analysing our clients' sites, what they're looking to achieve, and what we can be doing to make their web pages produce more and better leads, essentially. Usually looking at calls to actions across the site, seeing how they can be improved, seeing how we can link pages together better, making emails, setting up automation and workflows, making copy changes, really anything that can help basically improve performance in conjunction with the search engine optimization that is being carried out by other members of the team.
Cool. You mentioned there experiments. What does that really mean in this context?
I think as a basis of conversion rate optimization, I think the thing about it is that if it was easy and sort of always the same, then there would be no need for a job. The job would be easy. You'd just be able to do the same thing every time, but unfortunately you can't do that. Every client's different. Every client and every web page has different requirements in terms of what it needs to succeed. The same techniques for conversion rate optimization won't work across every page as much as I want them to. So you need to be trying new things all the time, looking at stuff that's been successful on other pages, trying them where relevant, looking at stuff that's not been successful and testing against maybe new criteria that you think might help it increase its numbers, increase its leads.
Yeah, that's cool. So it sounds like it's a pretty tech-heavy job. Yeah. What sort of technology would you use on a daily basis?
Yeah, I spend most of my time in Hubspot, which is our CRM. All of our stuff is based in there. I spend most of my time looking through the data in Hubspot. It allows me to see how pages are performing, as well as actually make changes to the pages themselves. So the bulk of my work is in there, but I will use it alongside stuff like Hotjar, which is a tool I use for monitoring web performance and seeing how people are actually interacting with the web pages that we set up, which allows me to get a good insight into a lot more of a human aspect as to how things work rather than just numbers that HubSpot usually gives you. Also, when it comes to creating stuff like CTAs, forms and web pages, I'll use quite a lot of image editing software to kind of create nice looking visuals and CTAs as and when needed for the pages.
Cool. It says here coffee. Would you like to discuss?
Yeah, I like coffee. It's
Cool.
good.
Yeah.
I can't function without coffee. I want it on record that I cannot function without coffee.
There we have our snippet. Right, so it's a tech-focused job. Do you have a piece of technology you dream about that could, greatly help your job? Is there anything you got in mind?
Yeah, obviously, it's hard in terms of that because it is so experimental that it would be good if there was a piece of technology that could kind of analyze your clients and your web pages requirements and give you the answer to something that would work 100% of the time. But obviously that's a bit of a pipe dream, which is why experiments are needed.
Yeah, so you'd like something to do your job without taking
without taking away my job.
Correct. It's great. So what do you see the future of CRO? What trends do you see coming in 2021?
I think the most exciting thing for CRO at the moment on the horizon is definitely the advancement of smart content and marketing automation. I think there's been a noticeable improvement and advancement over the past few years in the effectiveness of smart content and technology in being able to actually automate and predict a lot of the conversion rate optimization based off of the raw data that you give it. For example, the data that it collects from people that come to a website, the numbers and the sort of pages they've visited, the demographics they fit, and it can then, smart content can essentially tailor what the site visitor is shown based on the data that it's already received. And we can already do quite a lot with that, but I feel like in the future we're going to be able to do so much with it. The possibilities are going to really open up in terms of really creating a tailored experience for site visitors.
Yeah, that's exciting stuff. What differentiates, I guess, using an inbound marketing agency over, say, an in-house team, or like an agile freelancer that could help out?
Yeah, I think the main advantage is obviously the sort of number of people that you can have working on something and the amount of expertise that comes with that. I think when you work with a freelancer, there's only so much that one person can do, and there's only so much knowledge that one person can have. Yeah, there's just so many areas that one person couldn't keep a detailed knowledge of. But when using an agency like us, one of the best things is that you can have multiple people on account, each with their own area of expertise and specialties. They can be keeping constantly up to date with the newest trends and advancements in those areas, and sort of bring to the table just the best of each area to really create the most optimized experience that I feel like is a lot harder to do when you only have either a freelancer or just a couple of in-house marketing people.
Yeah. So your role has a lot of interaction with kind of other experts in the business?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that my role can't really exist on its own. It needs to be part of the greater sort of inbound marketing sort of machine, I suppose, in that I feel like SEO is ultimately what leads into CRO. Conversion rate optimization is only really useful once you've actually got the right visitors to the place that you want them to be, and that requires search engine optimization to sort of come before that, lead the right people in, and then you can start optimizing. So obviously I have to work quite closely with the search engine optimizers here, as well as the content people, to make sure that the content on the pages is correct and it meets our buyer personas.
I imagine even designers as well, right? Because you want
Yeah,
it to be
of course.
well,
Yeah,
so.
I'm always working with our designers to make sure that the pages are built to the right specification, that we have the right modules, that it does what we want it to do, that it looks how we want it to look, as well as, of course, the strategists on the account who kind of are in charge of the general direction, just making sure that everything's on target, things are happening on time, everything's meeting goals, and that ultimately our clients are happy.
I know you have like a quite varied job and there's a lot of interaction with other people, but like what would the most regular highlight be, or what you like doing the most?
Obviously the highlight on an ideal day is always good client feedback. Achieving a result is always pretty much the best feeling you can have, and being able to show a client a good result that you've achieved is always good, but unfortunately not every day you can have that. So some days the highlight will just be creating something or doing a piece of work that I feel like is going to be impressive or beneficial down the line, something that I can feel very proud of. For example, if I make a page or even just an email and I just think this looks really good, I think this is going to work really well, that's always a good highlight, a good feeling to have.
That's good. And what about the opposite? What about like frustrations or pain points that you have?
I think the most frustrating thing would be when tests and experiments don't go how you expect them to. I think one of the downsides to constantly being experimenting is that you never really know what's going to happen. You obviously base experiments off of hypothesis and off of data. You have an intention of what you want them to do and what you think that they'll do, but that not always is the case. And it's very frustrating when you implement something that you feel like is going to be very successful and achieve a good result, and then for whatever reason it doesn't do that. It's always very frustrating.
The role is really experimental, but how do you decide what to optimize? Where do you look for that?
I think when you're looking at new things to optimize, the first thing that you want to do is always look at the pages that are currently getting the most traffic, because obviously that's the most opportunity for the number of people you can get converting, especially if it's got the right traffic coming to it, if it's been properly optimized from a search engine optimization point of view. So you look at the pages that are getting good traffic and you're looking if they're performing or not. What's the conversion rate like? What's the click rate like? Can we make it better? Are we sending people where they need to go? Or is the traffic being directed to the relevant landing pages? Looking at the key landing pages in terms of what our best offers are and are they performing, and do we need to be implementing any experiments with those? I think that would be the main starting point. And once you've gone through all of that, I feel like it's always a good idea to look for anomalies, look through the site data, see if there's any numbers that stand out. Are there certain pages that for whatever reason are getting like a lot more or less traffic, or a lot higher or lower click rates than you'd expect? Look into why that is and how we can either capitalize on that or improve that if it's not performing well enough.
Cool. Do you have any CRO top tips that you'd like to share?
I think the main tip I would have would be to always base your experiments off of some form of data and to never make assumptions about things. I think it can be easy to make assumptions about things, but I think that's also a dangerous path to go down, because you need to be really basing your experiments and your tests off of some form of data, whether that's tangible numbers based on the same website, something that's succeeded or not succeeded, or whether it's from another website, whether it be another client, or just data that's come from another source. You might have seen a white paper somewhere else that said that things, doing a certain experiment or implementing a certain thing on a website leads to a greater conversion rate. You always want it to be basing it off something like that rather than just a feeling that something might work.
Thanks a lot for your time, Will. It's good to know a bit more about your role.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you.
Thanks to Will there for taking some time out and telling us about his day. If you'd like to hear about more of what happens in an inbound marketing agency, just click the link at the end of this video.